So I don't know that this has ever happened to you, but I'm sure it has, where you're walking into a room, you're minding your own business, your mind is on other things, and then suddenly your friend, because they think they're hilarious, they leap out from behind the door and yell, "Boo!" And in that moment, two things happen. The first thing that happens is that your body just reacts. It doesn't ask you anything, it's just a automatic reaction that it does, where you leap into the air and scream. And the second thing that happens, which feels really weird in the moment, is that while you're in the midst of screaming, you actually recognise, just a beat afterwards, that you're safe because it's only your friend who's playing a little joke on you. And so you're kind of mid-air, you've jumped, you're screaming, and while you're screaming, you're thinking, "Oh, that's my friend." You're like, "Oh, you're soft." And call them all sorts of insults. And the reason I want to give you that example is because those two beats are very much how your alert system, your survival system works. So you've got the first one where you jump up in the air and it's not really passing through your thinking brain at all. And the second one where you respond in just like a half a second later, almost like a ba-boom. Half a second later where your brain actually comes into the picture and is able to realise that this is just your friend and it was a false alarm and you can go back to normal again. Everything is safe. And the reason why I raise this is because whenever we're feeling anxious, this is essentially what's happening. So your brain, your alert system, if you like, that part of your brain which is part of your alert system, not your thinking brain, but the part that's almost like a smoke alarm, that is constantly monitoring the information that it's taken from the outside world and other places, as well, which I'll talk about in a moment. But it's taking this information in. And then when it finds something that it thinks might be a threat, it just gets you to respond instantly. It doesn't have a conversation with you. It doesn't consult. It doesn't say, "Oh, so what do you want to do about this saber-toothed tiger that appears to have walked in the room?" It just responds instantly. And then just like before, when your friend shouts "boo," there's a kind of ba-boom. And that second beat of the ba-boom is that the information actually goes to your brain twice. The first, like it comes into your system twice. So the first, it goes through the smoke alarm part of your brain, which is not the thinking part. It's like the reptile part that is, its job is just to keep you alive. But then it also sends the same signal from the outside world on a slightly longer route through your thinking brain, which is why you've got the ba-boom, and that second beat is arriving slightly slower. So there's a great advantage in just responding instantly, because that gives you a split-second advantage in terms of getting away from a danger that might be there. But there's also a benefit as well to being able to assess what's really going on, being able to put your thinking, human mind behind this. So you're not just acting like a reptile in danger, you're acting like a human who's got some conscious thought. And so there's benefit to that. So it actually splits the external signal. It splits the information from the outside world and sends it for a fast route to your reptilian brain and a slightly longer route through your human thinking brain. And that's why when your friend jumps out, you have that ba-boom sort of experience where you jump and scream in the moment, and a split second later you realise that it's only actually your friend, because the signal's gone first to your reptilian brain, which its aim is to keep you alive, and it leaps and screams, gets you out of the way. And secondly, that half a second later, it's gone through your thinking brain where you go, I see, it's a false alarm, it's just my friend. And so I hope you understand after that explanation that all the information that you're receiving from the world is actually being sent to you twice through this split signal, the fast one and then the slightly slower but more considered one. And the reason why I want you to know that is to understand that your system is actually built for your thinking brain to assess the anxious sensations that you're feeling. So whenever you're going through an anxious response to something, you will get the anxious feeling, but there's also a space for you to actually intervene as a thinking person as well. And the reason why that's important is Because often in anxiety, what we will experience is something that might be best called as a fear of the fear. So there'll be something maybe in your subconscious, maybe that you're not even fully aware of, which will trigger the anxious feelings. And in those anxious feelings, when we have the second beat of that bump, what we'll often do is respond with even more fear. So we might say something like, oh no, these feelings mean I'm about to have a heart attack. Or, oh no, I'm about to faint and everyone will look at me. And so in that second beat of the bump, we actually add fear to it. It's a very common aspect of anxiety called the fear of the fear. But what actually your nervous system is responding to is not just the external world, but it will also respond to the physical data coming from your body. It will respond to your imaginings, and it'll also respond to the meaning that you give to something. And that bump is basically the place for you to intervene and tell your alert system, tell your alarm system that actually this is a false alarm. Now, the reason I'm making you aware of this, and it's only a brief awareness because it's a short podcast, is that I want you to realize that that fear of the fear is something that you could actually redesign, if you like. So the anxious feelings don't necessarily mean that, oh no, I'm going to have a heart attack, or oh no, I'm going to faint, or anything like that. It could just mean that it's a false alarm. And it will often mean that it's a false alarm, that our bodies are getting agitated and anxious because it's associating something really safe in the environment with something less safe. And so that bump, I just want you to be aware of it for now, really, so you know that there is actually a space for you to apply a different meaning to what these anxious feelings in your body are. Because for the most part, if you have a quick scan and you're not seeing anything life-threatening in that moment, then it's likely a false alarm. And if you can apply that meaning rather than something more scary, then it can help you eradicate the fear of the fear, which is so common when we're feeling anxiety. So I'm going to leave it there for the moment. There's a lot more to say on this topic, obviously, but for now, I just want you to be aware that that bump that goes on when someone jumps out and yells boo, and you scream, but then also see that it's just your friend just a split second later, that split second later is where your thinking brain comes into the equation. And so it's an opportunity at any time, actually, for your thinking brain to step in. Your body's actually built to open the door to your thinking brain to add a meaning which is going to be less scary to you, and hopefully help you eradicate the fear of the fear, which builds that anxiety cycle whenever we feel anxious sensations in the body. So I'm going to leave it there for now. Hopefully that's useful. If it has been, please share it with others. And if you want to work with me directly to dig into this a little bit more, I'm Alun Parry. I'm the director of the Liverpool Psychotherapy practice on Rodney Street, and you can find me at liverpoolpsychotherapy.co.uk. So until tomorrow's podcast episode, thanks for listening, and I'll see you then.